The first entry in my mother's diary read, "Today I stole another woman's baby. I'm going to name her Catherine." I found the diary at her funeral. My name is Catherine Wells. I'm 28 years old. And everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. It was a Tuesday when my mother died. Heart attack. Sudden, unexpected, devastating. One moment she was gardening in the backyard, the next moment she was gone. Linda Wells had been the perfect mother. Warm, loving, supportive. She'd raised me alone after my father, Robert, left when I was 10. Or so I'd been told. She worked 2 jobs to put me through college. Never missed a recital, a game, a parent-teacher conference. I loved her more than anything. The funeral was beautiful. White roses, her favorite. A church full of people whose lives she'd touched. I stood at the casket, numb, barely holding it together. That's when I saw it. A small leather journal tucked into the silk lining of the casket. Partially hidden, like someone had placed it there and forgotten. I looked around. No one was watching. Everyone was filing out, heading to the reception. I reached in and took it. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. Or the part of me that knew something was wrong even then. That night, alone in my childhood bedroom, the room my mother had decorated for me, the room where I'd grown up, I opened the diary. The handwriting was my mother's. Neat, careful, familiar. The date on the first page, August 15th, 1996. 28 years ago. And the words that would destroy everything. Today I stole another woman's baby. I'm going to name her Catherine. My own baby died 3 days ago. SIDS, they said. Sudden infant death syndrome. One moment she was sleeping, the next she was gone. They tried to comfort me, told me it wasn't my fault, but I know the truth. I failed her. I was supposed to protect her and I failed. Robert won't even look at me. He blames me. I can see it in his eyes. But today everything changed. I was at the hospital, I couldn't stay away, kept going back to the maternity ward, watching the other mothers with their babies. And I saw her. Perfect. Healthy. Beautiful. Her mother was unconscious. Emergency C-section. The baby was in the nursery alone. The nurse stepped away for just a moment. I took her. I wrapped her in my sweater and walked out. No one stopped me. No one even noticed. I brought her home. Robert was at work. I cleaned her, changed her, fed her. When Robert came home, I told him our baby had survived. That the doctors were wrong. That it was a miracle. He believed me. He was so relieved, so happy. He didn't question it. Her name is Catherine now. She's mine. She's mine. I dropped the diary. My hands were shaking so violently I couldn't hold it. No. No, this couldn't be real. This was a story. Fiction. My mother's what? Creative writing? Some kind of twisted fantasy? But the date. August 15th, 1996. My birthday. I picked up the diary again, hands trembling, and kept reading. The entries continued. Weeks. Months. Years. September 3rd, 1996. Catherine is settling in. She cries less now. I think she knows I'm her mother. Robert still doesn't suspect anything. October 12th, 1996. Robert asked why Catherine doesn't look like his baby pictures. I told him babies change. He accepted it. March 22nd, 1997. I saw a missing child poster today. A baby girl. Taken from Boston General Hospital. Catherine's face stared back at me from that poster. I tore it down and burned it. June 8th, 1998. Robert is getting suspicious. He wants to do a DNA test. I convinced him it would be insulting to me, that he should trust me. But I don't know how long I can keep this up. September 14th, 1999. Robert knows. He confronted me today. Said he'd done a paternity test without telling me. Catherine isn't his daughter. He demanded the truth. I told him everything. He didn't call the police. I thought he would, but he didn't. He just looked at me with such disgust, such hatred. He said he's leaving. He can't live with what I've done. But he won't turn me in because it would destroy Catherine. She's 3 years old. Innocent. He made me promise to take care of her. To love her like she was my own. I told him I already do. He left the next day. Told Catherine he had to go away for work. She cried for weeks. The entries went on for 28 years. My entire life documented by a woman who had stolen me. A woman who had let me believe my father abandoned us when really he'd left because he couldn't live with her crime. A woman who had raised me, loved me, tucked me in at night, all while knowing I belonged to someone else. I read until dawn. Read every page. Every entry. And in the final entry dated 1 week before her death. Catherine is 28 now. Beautiful, successful, kind. She has no idea. I've thought about telling her 1,000 times. But I can't. It would destroy her. Destroy us. Her real mother is still alive. I've kept track over the years. She never stopped looking. Never remarried. Never had more children. She's been waiting for Catherine for 28 years. Her name is Margaret Shaw. She lives in Cambridge. Maybe one day Catherine will find this diary. Maybe she'll find Margaret. But I hope she doesn't. I hope she remembers me as her mother, not as the woman who stole her. I love you, Catherine. I'm sorry. I closed the diary. And then I screamed. I screamed until my voice gave out, until my throat was raw, until there was nothing left inside me but a hollow, aching void. Everything I knew was a lie. My mother wasn't my mother. My father wasn't my father. My life wasn't my life. I was stolen. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. By morning, I'd made a decision. I was going to find her. Margaret Shaw. My real mother. The woman who'd been looking for me for 28 years. I pulled up my laptop and started searching. It didn't take long. Margaret Shaw, 58, living in Cambridge. No social media presence, but I found her address through public records. I sat in my car outside her house for 2 hours before I found the courage to knock. It was a modest home. Well-maintained. A small garden in front, neat and tidy. I walked up to the door. Raised my hand. Knocked. Footsteps inside. The door opened. And there she was. She looked like me. Same eyes. Same nose. Same shape of the face. It was like looking into a mirror that showed me 30 years from now. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice soft, cautious. "Are you Margaret Shaw?" "Yes." "Who are you?" I took a breath. "My name is Catherine Wells. I was born on August 15, 1996, at Boston General Hospital. And I think I'm your daughter." Color drained from her face. She grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. "What did you say?" I found my mother's, Linda Wells's, diary. She confessed to taking a baby from Boston General in 1996. That baby was me. "I think you're my biological mother." Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. "Catherine," she whispered. "My Catherine. I don't know. Maybe. I need to do a DNA test to be sure, but..." She lunged forward and pulled me into her arms. She was sobbing, clutching me like I might disappear. "I knew you were alive. I knew it. Everyone told me to give up, that you were probably dead, but I knew. I felt it. The mother knows." I stood there, rigid, uncomfortable. This woman was a stranger. She smelled unfamiliar. Her touch felt wrong. But she was crying so hard, shaking, and I didn't know what to do except stand there and let her hold me. "I'm sorry," she finally said, pulling back and wiping her face. "I'm sorry. This is overwhelming. Please come in. Please." I followed her inside. The house was filled with photos. Of a baby. Me, I realized. The hospital baby pictures. Progression photos created by age progression software showing what I might look like at 5, 10, 15, 20. She'd been tracking me. Imagining me. Waiting for me. "I never stopped looking," Margaret said, her voice breaking. "The police gave up after a year. Said there were no leads. But I hired private investigators. Then everything I had. I've devoted my entire life to finding you. Did you ever have other children?" She shook her head. "I couldn't. After you were taken, I couldn't bring another child into the world knowing you were out there somewhere. It felt like a betrayal." My chest tightened. This woman had spent 28 years alone. Searching. Waiting. Grieving. While I'd been living with the woman who stole me. "We should do a DNA test," I said quietly. "To be sure." "Of course." "Yes. Absolutely." We ordered a kit online. Expedited shipping. The results would take 3 days. In the meantime, Margaret asked me about my life. What I did for work, marketing consultant. Where I lived, Boston. What my childhood had been like. I told her some things. Kept others to myself. How could I tell her that Linda had been a good mother? That I'd loved her? How could I admit that part of me wished I'd never found this diary? The DNA results came back positive. 99.9% probability of biological relationship. Margaret Shaw was my mother. Which meant Linda Wells had stolen me. Margaret cried when she got the results. Happy tears this time. "I want you to meet your family," she said. "Your grandparents. Your cousins. Everyone. They've been waiting so long. I have a family?" "Of course you do. A big one. Your grandmother has been praying for this day for 28 years. My family. A real family. One I'd never known existed. The reunion was overwhelming. Margaret's parents, my grandparents, wept when they saw me. Her sister, my aunt, kept touching my face like she couldn't believe I was real. There were cousins. Second cousins. A whole extended family I'd never known. They welcomed me with open arms. Showed me baby pictures of Margaret, pointed out the resemblance. Told me stories about the day I was born, the day I was taken, the years they'd spent searching. It should have felt like coming home. But it didn't. These people were strangers. They loved a baby they'd lost 28 years ago, not the person I'd become. And I didn't know how to be their Catherine. 2 weeks after the DNA test, Margaret asked me to move in with her. "You belong here," she said. "With me. Your real family. I have an apartment, a job, a life. But don't you want to know us? To be part of this family?" I did. And I didn't. I was angry. Angry at Linda for stealing me. Angry at Robert for leaving and never telling me the truth. Angry at Margaret for, I don't know, for not finding me sooner, for being a stranger. None of it was fair. But I felt it anyway. "I need time," I said. Margaret's face fell. "Of course. I understand. I've waited so long. I don't want to lose you again." "You won't. I promise. I just need to process this." But even as I said it, I knew something was wrong. Because when I went home that night, I found myself looking at pictures of Linda. Linda teaching me to ride a bike. Linda at my high school graduation. Linda helping me move into my first apartment. The woman who stole me had also raised me. Loved me. been there for every moment of my life. And Margaret was a stranger who shared my DNA. I didn't know which one was my real mother anymore. 3 weeks after finding the diary, I made a decision. I was going to find Robert, my father, the man who'd known the truth and said nothing. Took some digging, but I found him in Vermont, remarried. 2 kids, my half-siblings technically, though they had no idea I existed. I drove up there on a Saturday. Knocked on his door. He opened it, saw me, and went pale. "Catherine." "Hello, Robert. How did you?" "I found Mom's diary. I know everything." Closed his eyes. "Please. Not here. My wife." "Your wife doesn't know you have another daughter?" "You're not my daughter." His voice was quiet, pained. "I wanted you to be. But you're not. You left me with a woman who stole me. You knew and you said nothing. I had no choice. You had every choice. You could have told the truth. You could have called the police. You could have given me back to my real mother. And destroyed you in the process? You were 3 years old, Catherine. You thought Linda was your mother. What was I supposed to do? Rip you away from the only home you'd ever known and hand you to a stranger? She was a stranger. Because Linda stole me. I know. He was shouting now. I know what she did. I've lived with that guilt every single day for 25 years. But I also knew that you were happy. That Linda loved you. That turning her in would traumatize you, put you in the system, destroy your entire world. So you just left? I couldn't stay. I couldn't look at Linda knowing what she'd done. But I couldn't destroy you either. So I left. I sent money every month, did you know that? Anonymous checks. I made sure you had everything you needed. I hadn't known. I'm sorry, Catherine. I'm so sorry. But I made the choice I thought was right. It wasn't your choice to make. I know. We stood there in silence. Finally, I said, Margaret wants me to be part of her family. Are you going to? I don't know. They're strangers. So make them family. You have a chance to know them now. Don't waste it. Did you ever think about telling me? When I got older, he hesitated. Every day. But Linda begged me not to. And I thought maybe it was better if you never knew. If you could just be happy. Well, now I know. And I'm not happy. I'm angry and confused, and I don't know who I am anymore. You're Catherine. That hasn't changed. Everything has changed. I left without saying goodbye. Over the next few months, I tried. I really tried. I visited Margaret regularly. Had dinner with her family. Let them get to know me. But the more time I spent with them, the more I realized something. They didn't want to know me. They wanted to know the Catherine they'd lost. The baby. The idea of me. Every time I expressed an opinion they didn't expect, I saw the disappointment in their eyes. When I mentioned I didn't want kids, Margaret looked heartbroken. But you'd be such a wonderful mother. When I told them I was agnostic, my grandmother actually cried. We raised your mother in the church. We thought. When I wore something they didn't like, ate something they didn't approve of, laughed at a joke they found inappropriate, every little thing that proved I wasn't the Catherine they'd imagined, I felt them pulling away. And the worst part? Margaret's family was wealthy. Very wealthy. Her father, my grandfather, owned a successful real estate company. Worth millions. And Margaret had been his only child. Which meant I was his only grandchild. Which meant I stood to inherit everything. I didn't think about it at first. Didn't care. But then Margaret mentioned it. My father wants to update his will, she said one evening over dinner. To include you. You're his only grandchild. He wants to make sure you're taken care of. That's not necessary. Catherine, we're talking about a substantial inheritance. Million. Your family. You deserve it. Something in her tone made me pause. What about your cousins? Your sister's kids? They'll still get something. But the bulk of the estate will go to you. As it should. I saw it then. In her eyes. In the way her aunt stiffened. In the way my cousins, who'd been so welcoming at first, now looked at me with poorly concealed resentment. I wasn't just the lost baby come home. I was the heir. And they hated me for it. 6 months after finding the diary, Margaret's father died. Heart attack. He was 78. The will reading, I learned the truth. He'd left me everything. Company. The properties. The investments. $60 million. Margaret's sister stood up and walked out of the room. My cousins followed. Margaret stayed, but I saw the look on her face. Relief. Satisfaction. She'd gotten what she wanted. Congratulations, she said, smiling. You're a wealthy woman now. I don't want this. Don't be silly. Course you do. This is your birthright. My birthright? I didn't even know these people 6 months ago. But they're your family. And family takes care of family. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I saw it. She didn't love me. She'd spent 28 years searching for me, yes. But not because she loved me. 'Cause I was hers. Her possession. Her lost property. And now that she'd found me, now that I'd inherited the family fortune, she could finally have what she'd always wanted. Control. I need to go, I said, standing up. Catherine, wait. Don't. Just don't. I left. I spent the next week thinking. About Linda. About Margaret. About what family really meant. Linda had stolen me. That was unforgivable. But she'd also loved me. Raised me. Been there for every moment of my life. Margaret was my biological mother. That was fact. But she was also a stranger who saw me as a means to an end. I didn't know what to do. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went to the police. I walked into the station with Linda's diary and told them everything. The case was a media sensation. Woman discovers she was stolen as a baby. Mother's deathbed confession reveals 28-year-old crime. Stolen baby inherits fortune from biological family. Police launched an investigation. Linda was dead, so she couldn't be prosecuted. But they wanted to know if Robert had been an accomplice. I told them he wasn't. That he'd only found out after the fact and had made the choice to protect me. They dropped the investigation into him. But the media didn't care about facts. They painted Linda as a monster. A baby thief. A woman who destroyed 2 families. They painted Margaret as a tragic victim. A grieving mother who'd never given up hope. They painted me as, I don't know, a pawn? A prize? I hated all of it. Margaret sued for emotional damages. Said Linda's estate should pay her for the pain and suffering she'd endured. Linda had left me her house and a small savings account, about $150,000 total. Margaret wanted all of it. She stole my daughter, Margaret said in court. She deserves to pay. She's dead, I said. You can't make a dead woman pay. Then you should pay. You benefited from her crime. I stared at her. This woman, my biological mother. She didn't love me. She never had. I was just a tool. A way to get revenge on Linda. A way to reclaim what she'd lost. And now that I had money, now that I'd inherited from her father, she wanted that too. I made a decision right there in the courtroom. I gave Margaret everything. Not because she deserved it, but because I didn't want it. I gave her Linda's house. Linda's savings. Every penny. And then I gave her something else. I renounced my inheritance from her father. All $60 million. I signed it over to her. Courtroom went silent. What are you doing? Margaret asked, her eyes wide. I'm giving you what you want. Money. Property. Everything. But I don't want it. I don't want any of it. You can have it all. You and your family can fight over it. I'm done. Catherine, please. I'm not Catherine. I don't know who I am. But I know I'm not yours. I never was. Linda stole me from you, yes. But you lost me the day you decided I was property instead of a person. I stood up and walked out. Margaret tried to follow, tried to call my name. I didn't look back. 6 months later, I heard that Margaret's family had torn itself apart fighting over the inheritance. Her sisters sued. Her cousins sued. Everyone wanted a piece of the $60 million I'd given up. Margaret ended up settling with all of them. Lost most of the money in legal fees. She tried to contact me. Called, texted, showed up at my apartment. I blocked her. Robert tried to reach out too. Said he was proud of me for walking away. I blocked him too. I didn't want anything from either of them. I live alone now. Small apartment. Simple job. No family. No inheritance. No past. Just me. Sometimes I think about Linda. About the woman who stole me and loved me and destroyed everything. I don't forgive her. I never will. But I understand her in a twisted way. She lost her baby. She was desperate. She made a horrible choice. And then she spent 28 years trying to make up for it by being the best mother she could be. It doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains it. Sometimes I think about Margaret, about the woman who gave birth to me and spent 28 years looking for me. I don't forgive her either. Because when she finally found me, she didn't see a daughter. She saw a possession, an inheritance, a way to reclaim what she'd lost. And I refuse to be anyone's property. My name is Catherine Wells. I'm 29 years old. I don't know who my real mother is. I don't know who my real father is. I don't know who I really am. But I know one thing. I'm free. Free from Linda's guilt. Free from Margaret's greed. Free from Robert's cowardice. I don't have a family anymore. But maybe that's okay. Maybe some people are meant to be alone. Maybe some stories don't have happy endings. Maybe some daughters are better off without mothers. I found my mother's diary at her funeral. Told me I was stolen. Told me my life was a lie. Told me nothing would ever be the same. And it was right. Nothing is the same. But I'm still here. Still standing. Still breathing. And that's enough. For now, that's enough.